25, I believe. So let's start by just going over a quick review of all the different types of angles that you guys did yesterday on my most exciting video that made at 5:30 in the morning. Okay, sorry. So we have a bunch of theorems that have to do with parallel lines. And instead of just writing parallel for all these, we use the symbol. It's very tricky. It's two parallel lines. So if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then corresponding angles are congruent. All right. So corresponding angles means they're at the same relative position for each of the parallel lines. So we have two parallel lines, and there's kind of an upper left, an upper right, a lower left, a lower right for each one of these. So the ones that are corresponding, meaning they're in the same relative position, are congruent. So like 1 and 5. Right? 4 and 8. Right? We have 2 and 6. And then we have what's left? 3 and angle 7. Angle. Okay. So those are corresponding angles, always congruent. Okay. Now skip the next one and go down to alternate interior. So if we have two parallel lines cut by transversal, right, pairs of alternate interior angles are also congruent. Right. So remember, for alternate and interior, this is the interior. It means interior or between the parallel lines. So it's the interior of the parallel lines, making anything not the interior the exterior. So in this case, on this graph, it's the top and bottom are exterior. So 3, 4, 5, and 6 are on the interior, and 1, 2, 8, 7 are on the exterior. All right. And alternate means you have two options. Are they on the same side of the transversal or opposite or alternating sides of the transversal? So when we say alternate of what, that's the transversal. So different sides of the transversal on the interior would be 3 and 5. Okay. And then also 4 and 6. There you go. Then we have alternate, let's see here, exterior. Two parallel lines cut by a transversal, those are also congruent. They're just the same idea, but on different sides of the transversal on the outside. We have 1 and 7. And then 2 and 8. Angle 2 and angle 8. There we go. Now the one I saved for last year is a little bit different. Okay, two parallel lines cut by transversal, pairs of same side interiors are, so interior on the same side, not alternate sides, but same side. So we're talking about 4 and 5. Yeah. 4 and 5, and then 3 and 6. Now, are these congruent? Yeah, this is an obtuse angle. 5 is obtuse, clearly, and 4 is acute, clearly, right? Just by looking at the picture. There's no way they're congruent, right? So our other option, if they're not congruent, is going to be supplementary. So we're going to say angle 4, I'll say measure. Measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 5 is 180. And the measure of angle 3 and the measure of angle 6 is 180. Measure of angle. These are supplementary. So I say that for last because it's the only one that's not congruent on this particular page. Okay. However, we did have, from number 23 homework, two other types of angles. So take a look at those. What's the first one on 23 that we looked at, just to refresh our memory? And some people call it like the scissor angle, formed by two intersecting lines. And that would be something like this, 1 and 3. Those are vertical angles. Okay, that's what we did a couple of days ago. Right? And those are congruent to each other. So vertical angles 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 5 and 6, and 7 and 8. Those are all vertical angles. Those are congruent. And then lastly, we have, what's it called when they're just on a 180-degree angle or a straight line, separated by a common side? So 7 and 8, 5 and 6, 3 and 4, 2 and 1, all those are linear pairs. Okay? And those are the other one that is actually supplementary, right? Clearly, they're on a straight line. Straight line is 180 degrees, so these two angles have to add up to 180. So that's the other one, kind of like same side interior is 180. Okay. So those are the ones you're going to be using. Got these 4 plus 2 more, and we'll have a few more of these later on as well. So the list will grow. So first we're going to practice identifying by the picture what type of angles they are. Then we're going to write the equation for each one, and then we're going to do the algebra to solve them. Okay, so let's practice right here. Let's see here. Yeah, so look in here. What type of angles are these two? Okay. Use your notes above. Yep, they're on different sides. If you wanted to label it, this is transversal. Different sides are alternate sides, so we know it's definitely alternate sides. Are these on the interior or exterior of the parallel lines? Right, these are on the exterior, so alternate exterior lines. That's step 1, is just naming all these properly. What about B? Yeah, one's on the interior, one's on the exterior, so you're not going to have an interior and exterior. They're in the same relative position, though. What was that? That's corresponding. Yeah, we've moved pretty far from just having, obtuse and acute angles. Now we have a lot of other possibilities. What about C? What do we got here? Yeah, both on the same side, and they're on the interior. So same side interior. Same side interior. And D? Now they're both on the interior, right? So you might be thinking alternate interior because they're on the opposite sides. But if you go back here, look at alternate interior. That's like 3 and 5. So here's 5, here's 3. So it's not really that, right? It's not 4 and 6, 3 and 5. So definitely not alternate interior. What's the other possibility? Yeah, it's like this one, right? They're on a straight line separated by a ray. So that's a linear pair. So yeah, this does take a little bit of time. This is why I recommend the flashcards. Make some flashcards so we know the difference between the two. Linear pair. Let's see here. E, what do we got? Yeah, this is interior and on alternating sides. Yeah, that's alternate interior. Good. And then F. Yep, those are vertical angles. Yep. So definitely have your notes out when you're trying to look these up and find out what they are. It does help an awful lot. All right, you guys real fast, go ahead and do G, H, and I and just check what's on next to you. Just finding the angle pair name. So what do we get for G? Alternate exterior, good. H, same side interior. And I, verticals again, yeah, vertical angles. All right, so good step one for each of these is just identifying from the picture what it is. Now let's figure out, using your notes, are alternate exteriors, what's the relationship between them? So your notes, alternate exteriors are congruent. All right, so let's write our equation here. So if they're congruent, that means these two are congruent. So we have, what, 16x equals 17x minus 5. Okay, so that's step two, is writing the algebra statement based upon the geometry equivalents here. Corresponding are also congruent. So we know we have 110 equal to x plus, there you go, x plus, what is it, 118? Okay. Then we have same side interior. Those are the two measures add up to 180, so a little different. Okay. So we have 95 plus 1 plus 7x equals 180. So there we go. Keep on going. Linear pair also add up to 180. We have 13x plus 3 plus 60 equals 180. Alternate interior are congruent. So we have x plus 96 and what does this mark here mean? 90 equals 90. There we go. Very good. So all the different types, all the different symbols. Oh, yeah, they're over there in the bins. Yeah. Okay. All right, moving on. Vertical angles are congruent, right? So we got vertical angles here. So 110, 14x plus 12. Alternate exterior, also congruent. 124 congruent to or equal to 17x plus 5. H, we got same side interior, so these are supplementary, right? So these add up to 180 degrees. Okay. And lastly, just like the one above it, I is vertical angles, which are congruent. So we have 16x minus 7 equals 14x plus 7. All right. So that's the end of the geometry lesson. Obviously, there's more work to do on each one of these, which is entirely 8th grade algebra. Okay, so at this point, if you're thinking, okay, I gotta get used to all these different type of angle names and then writing these equations, but once I get the equation, I'm good. I'll get it right every single time. Then that's good because you're just learning the geometry. If you're looking at all these algebra equations, it's like, I don't know, if I took a quiz on this 8th grade math right now, I don't know if I'd get them right. Then that's an algebra issue, and that's when you need to take extra care of showing all the work, getting help, asking a lot of questions, And we don't have enough time to really go over on how to solve every single one of these algebra equations. Usually, today we have more time, so we can. But in general, you need to get extra help outside of class. Go to the Math Tutoring Center. Go to the library. They got free tutoring there 5 days a week. You want to get help so you can catch up. And usually only takes like 3 or 4 different times getting help, and then you know how to do it. And you think that you're so far from learning how to do these things perfectly, and then when you get help, you're like, oh, that's it? Oh, okay, I get it, and then you're fine. You just got to get that extra help before you get there. Okay, so let's solve these. Just get the variables on one side and numbers on the other. You know, same old song and dance. So we can subtract like 17x on both sides. Start there. If you already know how to solve all these, by all means, just start solving. You don't need to watch me or do anything because it's 8th grade math here. Got negative x equals negative 5. And then divide both sides by that negative 1. So we know x equals 5. Now, people always ask, how can you raise your grade? Oh, I want to raise my grade. Quarter's almost over next week, so how do I raise my grade? Now, here's what most people do so their grade never gets low in the first place. They do something called a check. So using a calculator, plug it back in. You know these two are equal, right? That's what this theorem says. So if you take your answer and plug it back in, what's 16 times 5? All right, plug that in your calculator. You should get 80 degrees. And then plug it in here, 17 times 5 minus 5. If that doesn't come out also to be 80 degrees, something is definitely wrong. And that way you'll do every single problem all the way through with it being 100% correct, and you never turn anything in that doesn't have a right answer, because you know if it's wrong, you'll keep trying to fix it, find the mistake. Usually it's just like a negative. It's nothing more than something small, but that way you'll get your grade up, right? Or never let it go down. So do a check. You know, if they say they're, congruent, just know at the very end, it should be congruent. So same thing here. If we solve this by subtracting 118 on both sides, we got negative 8 equals x. So if you plug in negative 8 plus 118, right? Or that means the same thing as 118 minus 8. So that's 110. So voila, we know for sure this is 100% correct. Before you turn it in, you can say with confidence at the top of your paper, you could write the grade of your paper. You know exactly what you got right or not right. So that's the big secret. It's one of those things that you can do anytime. It's always there. It takes a few seconds, but for some reason, a lot of people don't want to do it. They'd rather get low grades and then go do a lot of extra work that takes a lot of extra time to try to raise their grade, as opposed to doing these little 3-second checks that, won't have to do any extra work at all. Okay. All right, so here we go, same side interior. Go ahead and solve this. Remember, these are on the same side, so combine them together. You don't subtract 95 or subtract 1. Combine those together first. Okay. Subtract 96 on both sides. We get 84. 84 divided by 7 is what? Yeah. It's also a nice time to start having a calculator just handy right there. Not a phone, but a calculator that you can use on your test quizzes and all that. Invest in one that does fractions really well. That way when you come across a problem that has fractions, you're not going to say, well, I didn't know how to do it because I had to add 2/3 and 5/6. And there's no excuse. If you use the right tool, the answers are free. So divide by 7, divide by 7. Right. So you really shouldn't see any long division on your paper anymore. Use a calculator. We have them in here in the box right there above all the colored trays. Right. You can invest in one yourself so you always have it. Save you some time. And make your grade go higher. Okay. We got x equals 12, I believe. Is that right? Yeah. And plug it in here. 1 plus 7 times 12. 7 times 12 is 84. This comes out to be 85. This one's 95. How come? Are they supposed to be the same? No, they're supposed to be add up to 180. Do they add up to 180? 95 and 85? Yes, so they are correct. We'll get in the habit of always checking, and we usually like to see the same number come out because most of these theorems are about congruent. But when you come across one that's supplementary, you won't come out with the same number, but they should add up to 180. So the check is a little different. All right. So a few more, and then at any point you feel like you got this down, just go ahead and work on it by yourself and check up here. So we have, what, 13x plus 63. If I combine those together. Okay. We got subtract 63 on both sides. 180 minus 63 is what, 117? And then divide 117 divided by 13. What does that come out to? Again, very good idea to have a calculator handy, right? Not just trying to do these big numbers and maybe making a mistake, you know. So what does this come out to be? Anybody got it? 17 divided by 13? 9? Okay. 9. Thank you. And plug it back in. This should come out to equal, if this is 60, this needs to be what, 120? So hopefully 13 times 9 plus 3 does come out to be 120. That way they're supplementary, they add to 180. Okay. Subtract 96 on both sides, get negative 6. That one's a little easier. You kind of see you need this. If you know this is 90 degrees, it just needs to be 6 lower than 96 to be a 90-degree angle. So that's a quick one. Here we got a two-step problem. We got subtract 12 on both sides. Divide both sides by 14. What's 98 divided by 14? 7. Okay. So if we plug in here, 14 times 7 plus 12, does that come out to equal 110? 110. So, because these are supposed to be congruent because they're vertical angles. All right, so that's how you keep your grade up, is you just care if your answer is right or wrong. Okay, that's all it is. It takes 2 seconds. You'll know for sure if you're right or wrong, so you know whether or not you should be turning in your quiz or test, or keep working on the problem. Okay. And we've all done this, including myself, where you get your test and quiz back and you realize you dropped your test quite a bit for no reason. You're like, oh, I just forgot this. Oh, I just forgot a negative. And it's something you could have easily checked. You just, you know, for whatever reason on that given day, you didn't. So check it every single time and good things will happen. All right, subtract 5 on both sides here. Divide both sides by 17. What's 121 divided by 17? Help me out. 121 divided by 17. 7? Okay, thank you. There we go. Here we got a bunch of stuff on one side. Combine all that together first. So 32x, 11x is going to be, what, 43x? Combining those two together. And 2 and 6 make 8. Subtract 8 on both sides. We'll get 172. What is 172 divided by 43? 4. All right. So it looks like you can reasonably expect things to come out to integer answers. But if you got decimals, it's not necessarily wrong. We will have more of that as we go further along. Okay. 119? Try 5. Oh yeah, thank you. 119. 119 divided by 17 is 7? Yeah. Okay. Very good. Let's see here. Good. Got 4. And lastly, if we solve this, we'll end up with subtract 14x on both sides. 16x minus 14x is 2x. Add 7 to both sides. 7 plus 7 is 14. So x equals 7 again. A lot of 7s, right? Are they all 7s? Oh, good 7. That's good. Let's see here. And if you plug them back in, 16 times 7 minus 7 should equal whatever 14 times 7 plus 7 equals. So it should come out to be the exact same number. And if you have a calculator handy, we're talking in like 3 seconds each, right? Very quick to check each of those answers. So please do that, and that will definitely help you out. Okay. All right, so from there, you can work on the back. We have a little review here. Recall that the distance formula is basically Pythagorean theorem, where you just need to find the rise and the run, or the height and the base times height type of thing. And then it's the square root of those two sides. So on this last test, we still had, I think, way too many people that are missing this. It's a gimme problem. This is a Pythagorean theorem. It's from 7th grade. Just find how tall it is, how wide it is, and we put a square root over it, and then just simplify whatever that number is. So it can come out to square root of 29 or 34 or 45, and that's it. It's just a very simple, can you find the height and the base of a triangle? That's what this is. That'll tell us, if you calculate it, the distance between here and here. All right, midpoint, recall that the midpoint is like the average of the x's, or the middle of the x coordinates. So you just add them up and divide by 2. That's the average, or the middle. Same thing with the y coordinates. So these are totally doable problems, simple calculations. All right. Okay. So from there, just go ahead and work on your stuff. I'll be around checking 23 and 24, and then we'll have a weekend.